Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Released December 20th, 2024. Directed by Jeff Fowler. Written by Pat Casey, Josh Miller, and John Whittington. Starring Jim Carrey, Ben Schwartz, and Keanu Reeves. Rotten Tomatoes score, 86%. Metacritic, 59. IMDb, 7.7. MPA rating PG. Welcome back to Real Reviews. Like always, I am your host, Lee. Today we are talking about Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Obviously the third installment in the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. Often when you have a successful franchise launched on a great movie like the original Sonic, it is hard to keep up the quality and keep meeting audience expectations. How does this one hold up? Let's talk about it. I think this movie hits the same tone as the first two movies. The story's still very simplistic, but not in a bad way. Super Weapon is released due to Big Bad getting involved. Pretty stock story, we have all seen it. But it does start to fall apart with any basic analysis though. The gist of the story is that the Big Bad wants to use a super weapon to destroy the world. The explanation for why they want this is just a person died, and nothing more. They don't really delve into it, and that makes the story overall weaker. This might have been fixed by adding on 10 extra minutes into the movie. The main issue I have here is just that destroying the world is never a good story. Also, this movie could have handled a bit of extra time. It is honestly paced so well that a little bit of extra story wouldn't have really hurt it. The voice acting is, let's say, half great. Keanu Reeves and Ben Schwartz are great. They get across emotions, and everything can be understood clearly. Colleen O'Shaughnessy as Tails is fine, but the more I think back to it, there just isn't anything stand out about the performance. Idris Elba as Knuckles was kind of bad. A few times I found it hard to understand his lines, and again, nothing stand out. Regular acting, you only really have Jim Carrey, and he is great. He is clearly bought into the character, and he is very entertaining. Most of the other characters that aren't animated are barely in the movie for more than a few minutes. But they all do a good job. Always love to see Kristen Ritter being a pain in the butt, which is her typecast. Sonic works, but it is due to the fact that he is the optimistic foil of Shadow, which also helps make Shadow work. Their stories work well off of each other. Both the only of their kind for at least some time. Both taken in by someone who cares about them, but then we get the divide here, and this is what makes the important differences in them. Honestly, their story comparisons can also work with their voice acting. Ben has a much higher voice, and he speaks faster, while Keanu has more bass and speaks much slower. I think this was a spectacular casting because it continues to work with them being foils of each other. The animation is pretty much of the standard that was set in all of the prior movies. The character models look good. Robotnik's droids look great. The explosions and lasers and all that nonsense also look great. One important thing is that the animated characters look good against the live-action actors when they are in the same scenes. Now on to spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie, I recommend it. If you like the prior movies, it is a fun watch. If you are stopping here, save this to watch later and come back when you see the movie. Okay, so the plot is simply this. Dr. Robotnik's grandfather Gerald worked at a secret military facility that kept Shadow locked away as they worked to discover the limits of his powers. In the facility, Maria, his granddaughter, befriends Shadow and makes him feel at home and loved. Due to something, they have to escape and Maria dies. They literally never talk about why in any meaningful detail. But after Maria dies, Shadow is locked away in suspended animation. Gerald apparently was in jail for 50 years, then uses Dr. Robotnik's tech to free Shadow. The endgame is to use Shadow to activate a super weapon that Gerald helped gun design, to destroy basically the whole world. I think he said specifically everything would die in a 2,500-mile range, which is most of the world. He did note that this plan would also kill him. But this is all over Maria, and he and Shadow are only motivated by this, and the desired outcome is so disproportionate that it doesn't make sense. Sonic is brought in by Gun, and after he is attacked by Gerald, he finds out that Dr. Robotnik is still alive. They join each other, and this is how we get introduced to Gerald, who is Jim Carrey in old makeup and a larger fat suit. They even directly call this out in the movie. Robotnik flips sides. Big shocker. There are some things I love. The Chow Cafe and Silver Shadow being high up there. So I rated this movie a 6 out of 8 or 7.5 stars out of 10. The story and the antagonist, which are almost one and the same issue, are the only negatives in my mind. Some of the jokes and pop culture references are a bit groan-worthy, but hey, the kids in the theater were laughing. If you made it this far, Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment for more videos. I tend to have 2 videos out per week, real reviews like this or AI reviews depending on releases. I will have 2 movies for next week as well, the Nosferatu remake and The Fire Inside. Until next time,